Welcome to the TFD Performance Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Sullivan, and this is the show where we break down popular science into easily digestible and actionable information to give you the blueprint to be a high performer in your life. Today, I'm joined by TFD Senior Performance Dietitian Jack Doherty, and we are talking about healthy relationships with food. This is a topic close to our heart and something we are extremely mindful about with our athletes. This is especially important when we talk about weight category athletes who need to monitor their weight for competition. We discuss our philosophies on counting calories, why we don't like the idea of if it fits your macros, why we prefer to use principles over strict numbers, and we talk about how we do all of this in practice with our clients. This is a really informative episode, so let's get to it. All right, welcome back for another episode of the TFD Performance Podcast, joined again by TFD Senior Performance Dietitian Jack Doherty. He's back on the couch. He's back in the room. What's going on?
Nothing much. It's a busy time of year. Everything's going fantastic, but yeah, good times.
It's probably inappropriate for a podcast, but have you ever thought about how casting couchy this couch looks on this podcast?
I don't have no reactions about how good my paintings are or my plants. Like, it's a very good kind of background, I think, but it's very classy, very
Background is good, but definitely, I'm pretty sure someone messaged me and said that, hey, they watched the YouTube and they're like, bro, Jack's setup looks like he's on casting couch.
Oh, yeah, no funny business on this couch, though.
That's good. But today we're going to be talking about something that's, super important. I think it's super important. You think it's super important. We talk about it all the time. And it's something that you really can't ignore pretty much in all of nutrition. But when it comes to weight category sport nutrition, this is something that you just, as a practitioner, you need to be aware of. And it's not even just being aware of it. Being aware is the bare minimum. You need to actively be helping your clients and guiding your clients in a way to promote it. And that's having a healthy relationship with food. And we see it time and time again when people crash diet or they do fad diets. And that not only do they leave themselves disappointed with the results that they get because they're probably not following the best nutritional principles, but then they're left with all this mental baggage and all of these unhealthy relationships with food, and I can't eat this, I can't eat that, I can only eat this here and there. Why do you think it's so important? What's been your experience with it, with clients, with yourself, with everything else?
I think over time, I just realized how unique every individual's relationship with food is. Some people have a great relationship, some people have a very negative relationship, and it's kind of understanding that everyone is very unique. I think the concept of these fad diets and a lot of the diet mentality is you go from a certain eating pattern to this kind of perfectionist mentality of like, nah, I have to be super strict. I have to be super dialed in. I can't have this. I can't have this. Good foods, bad foods, that kind of narrative that's followed the kind of diet culture or the nutrition culture. So for me, it's just like over the years of working with people, I think that, obviously we provide nutrition plans, and that's kind of giving people the principles and showing them, the foundations of what nutrition is. But as I get further in this career, I realize that it's very, very, a big part of it is kind of helping people understand nutrition, but also their own nutritional needs and their relationship with food.
Yeah, it's an interesting debate, hey, because like the first time anyone comes on the team, right, we show them how we write our plans. Like, I'm very much not big on like giving these guys macros and calories and strict gram limits to follow. And that's a big part of it, right? I think that definitely has its time and place. When you've got to give education to people, and education is important. You need to have education, you need the theory, and then you need application to get good results with these guys. But it doesn't have to be everything. I think a lot of people make the mistake of putting too much emphasis on these numbers and too much emphasis on the macronutrients. And don't get me wrong, at the end of the day, like, we're scientists. It's physiology, it's science. Yes, the calories matter. Yes, the grams matter. But is that going to set you up for long-term success? Is that going to set you up so that you can go out and enjoy food with your friends and family? Is that going to set you up so you can have a good overall enjoyable eating behaviors throughout the rest of your life? Probably not. Like, I've never really met someone who's been in like the bodybuilding scene or any of those types of environments where you're strictly counting macros and measuring grams and they've enjoyed it, or they've been able to stick to it for a long period of time.
Yeah, and then it just becomes, especially with the calorie counting, like it becomes more of like, can I fit this in, rather than, thinking about like, the nutrients involved and stuff like that. Like, oh, I can, that kind of that mentality of like, I can take this out to fit in chips, or that kind of like that restrictive kind of compensatory behavior that people do, which is kind of takes away from the whole concept of the good nutrition and being healthy, performing the best. And like you said, like, when I start with a new client, I don't give them calories and macro targets and stuff like that. My whole thing is that, listen, let me do the numbers. Let me kind of handle that kind of part of it. And I want you to focus on, obviously, understanding the nutrition plan and the principles that we're giving you, but also just understanding like going back to the basics of what foods make you feel good, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, kind of concentrating on your relationship food and how the food you're eating is making you feel. So kind of going back to that self and your perception of things and how you're feeling, rather than just sitting on an app going, okay, sweet, I've met this target. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the whole if it fits your macros thing is really perplexing to me. Like, obviously we've got a background in nutrition and we're very science minded with it. So I've always been a bit perplexed when people are like, oh, you know what, I'll just swap out this, bowl of fruit for a bag of chips. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with a bag of chips, but I just don't like that mindset where you're like, oh, I can take this out and I'll just sub it in because it's the exact same calorie limit, for the reasons exactly what you're saying. It's like food is just so much more than just calories. Like, we need to consider your micronutrients. We need to consider the phytonutrients. Like, what's your diet look like overall? Like, diet quality is one of the most important things that you can do in your life to improve your mood, to improve your health, to improve your performance, whether it's training the match, your recovery, whatever it is, it's your overall diet quality. And I think people get wrapped up in these ideas of good food, bad food. And it's like, there is no good and bad food. It's like, what's good and bad for you? And then if you're having a lot of those bad foods overall all of the time, and that's affecting your diet quality, then maybe there's more positive changes you can make. But let's look at the reasons why you like those foods. Like, a lot of people enjoy sitting on the couch with their partner and having chocolate. Like, I cannot tell you how many clients I've told them when we give them plans, if you enjoy eating chocolate on the couch at night with your boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, husband, wife, whatever, do it. Like, I want you to do it because that's an enjoyable thing you need to do. It's very, very easy to have a very good, high quality a high quality of diet, and still do all of those things.
Yeah, I think exactly right. Like, when obviously I've created a couple of recipes that are Biscoff and Nutella related, like for some pre-workout snacks, for instance. The number one question I get is like, can I fit that in my program? I'm like, of course, because the people have labeled these foods good and bad, not knowing that you can actually integrate these foods that, maybe from the general public seem like bad items, but you can integrate them into a healthy eating pattern. These things aren't bad or good. And I think that leads to what I've been talking to a lot of people about is like understanding your relationship with food. Like, what are your personal triggers with food? Like, you're an emotional eater. Like, what is your relationship with food as a whole? Is there different times throughout the week, or, different moods that kind of cause you to eat certain ways? And like, obviously no one's perfect. Even the elite of the elite aren't perfect. So understanding yourself is so important in terms of, what your eating style is or pattern is. And maybe there is some changes that need to be made, or maybe there's simply ways of just changing your mindset to allow you to have that relationship with food, instead of that, this is good, this is bad, whereas more like, this food is more nutritious, this food is less nutritious, but we can still integrate it all in for a healthy, good diet overall.
Yeah, it's funny, especially in the area we work in, right? It's a hard little balancing act, because at the end of the day, our guys need to make weight. And like, whether you agree with cutting weight and, dieting to lose weight or whatnot, for what we do, it's just a reality. Like, it's just a part of the sport. I don't particularly love it. I think it should go away. I think it should fuck right off. I completely agree with that. But for right now, it's here to stay, and it's something we have to deal with. So my mentality with it is, okay, well, how can we do that? How can we achieve this weight loss that this athlete has to achieve as a prerequisite to compete in the sport that they love and they've dedicated their life to? How do we do that? But how do we do it in a way that isn't going to just tarnish their relationship with food, tarnish how they look at certain meals, not going to make them hate every time they've got to cook a meal or go to the cupboard or put on the stove or whatever? And it really comes back to all of this, right? Like, a lot of it is just clearing out misinformation. Like, people just inherently think, if I've got to lose weight or if I've got to diet for competition, I've got to eat quote unquote clean as, I've got to eat super clean, nothing but chicken, broccoli, and vegetables. And they have that real restricted mindset from the get-go. And I often say to them, it's like, do you like that food? Does it bring you any joy whatsoever? And then a lot of the time it's like, well, maybe I could have it once or twice a week. And then outside of that, I really start to hate it. It's like, well, why are you eating it? There's so many other things. Like, what foods do you eat? Well, I like taco bowls and I like poke bowls and I like doing all this. Like, that's great. Like, let's follow these performance principles. Let's figure out all of the foods that you like and let's apply these performance principles, add in all of these foods. And there is a way to do all that and still lose weight, still perform well at training, still recover properly, and still fit in all those foods that you like.
Yeah, because because when we say like nutrition is a 365 days a year thing, we're not just saying that like that David Goggins mentality of like just eat this, eat clean all the time. It's about looking at nutrition a different way, including those foods that you love, including enjoyable foods, not just having chicken, broccoli, and rice, like creating like different dishes. And we obviously give our clients a lot of different recipes, from curries to Mexican bowls, as we spoke about. But implementing those things and showing people and educating people that you can include these foods in a healthy diet is what leads to long-term sustainable, like body composition goals, keeping your weight in a good range, preventing yo-yo dieting, preventing these big crashes and stuff like that. And that's what I think is most important. That's why I spend a lot of time with a lot of my guys, is just educating them, like stop looking at stuff as good and bad, or a dieting phase and a non-dieting phase. Let's make this phase a whole year. But then obviously there's going to be times where we're eating out more due to celebrations and stuff. But overall, if we're keeping these principles and this kind of healthy relationship with food and not restricting and kind of allowing us to have, an abundance of different items, then we're going to have that long-term, we're going to reach our goals long-term and going to keep ourselves accountable, but also our mental health, which is obviously incredibly important, is going to be there at all times.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like the 365-day year diet. I'm actually writing up a huge post about it and the importance of what you do with your nutrition on the macro level is way more important than what you do on the micro level. And I think a lot of athletes don't get this, and it's a big convo I have. And you almost get stress relief. Like you can see the stress just coming off their face when you explain this to athletes and you say, hey, look, when you're in this fight camp, the fight camp is the time to, we've got to move a bit of weight, but it's time for you to get ready for a fight. Like you're getting ready for competition. That's not just for fighters. That's for if you're getting ready for an endurance race, if you're getting ready for swimming, if you're getting ready for a soccer match, whatever it is, like the time leading up to it is not about being restrictive. It's not about putting your body through like hell to get to the match or competition or fight or whatever it is. It's about priming it in the best way possible. And that can easily be done when you're eating foods that you do. It's almost impossible to hit your calorie needs and your carbohydrate needs, not including those foods. Like I don't know one single athlete that I have that can meet the carbohydrate needs that we have without having some chocolate, without having some ice cream, without having that. And everyone goes, oh, the micronutrients. So, well, we're getting the micronutrients. We're getting the micronutrients from all the veggies that we're eating, the salad, we're getting good proteins, we're eating whole grains, but we can do all of that and still get it in. And I think that's an important thing athletes don't realize. When you explain it to them, they go, oh yeah. And you go, yeah, see, this makes sense that you do this all year round. And the only way that you can do this all year round is if you get this in your head and in your mind that, hey, you know what? There are no good and bad foods. It's like, what's best for what I'm trying to achieve? And you know what? If I need to eat some cake to get my carbohydrates or calories up, that's fine because this is the goal I'm trying to achieve. Yeah, I still want to get like these good micronutrients in. So I'm going to have my salads at lunch and dinner, and I'm going to have, carrots and hummus as a snack. But you know what? I'm going to eat the cake because I know that it's good for me for what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah, and if you've ever we've obviously worked with people and probably done it ourselves, like in a building phase where you have to push those calories high. Like sometimes, like I've been at a point where I've tried to eat 4,500 calories. Now, if to do that super clean is not only exhausting, but it's super hard, then your appetite's not there. You can't get enough food in. So adding those items, yes, my daily diet that time was, majority of like good protein sources, good carbohydrate sources, but I had to add those, unhealthy snacks in, what people would call them, just to help me reach the targets that I was going for. So like I said, and when I work with people, obviously people, want to trial different things, or, I want to try this kind of style of eating or something like that. So it's always a negotiation. But my biggest thing is like, yes, we can include these food items. Yes, we can try a different style. But the most important thing is, how is it making you feel? How's your training going? Is it getting better? Is it getting worse? How's your sleep? How's your mood? Looking at the variables outside of just the scale weight or just the enjoyment part of it. How is it making you feel? And I think that that's a big part of what I do in terms of check-ins as well. When I'm checking with my clients, it's not just about what's your scale weight, how we tracking. That's obviously a part of it if someone's competing, but part of it for me is like, how is your mood going? How's your recovery? How's your sleep? How are you feeling overall? And how's your training? Kind of looking at all the variables. And I think that's what everyone's forgotten what to do is like, it's not just about our scale weight and how our body looks. And obviously training performance is very important, but it's like, how do we feel? Like how is our mental health getting worse? Is it getting better? And just making sure that, you know, the nutrition obviously can support a lot of things in terms of our mental health and our well-being, and just making sure those are overlapping, including or not including different food items.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I'm really starting to advocate a lot to our clients and, you know, just to the general population is I call it the pink elephant theorem. It's like we think about health and you think about the elephant. If there's a pink elephant there and you've got the dietitian, everyone's got blindfolds on. The dietitian's over here, strength conditioning coach is here, the psychologist is there, the general practitioner. Everyone's grabbing different parts of that elephant. You'd all think it was a different animal, but really, you take the blinds off. We're all talking about the same thing. And when we talk about these different components of health, they're really all one of the whole thing. So when we talk about our nutrition, yes, that can affect our stress and our stress can affect our sleep and vice versa. So there's all of these things that you need to be mindful of. It all has runoff effects. If you're really stressed at work because someone keeps bugging you and you don't know how to handle that stress, that's going to flow over into your food choices. Maybe you go for different types of foods when you're stressed. When you're stressed, you literally take blood away from your digestive tract and put it other places. So it's going to affect how you digest food. And that's why I think having a good relationship with food is so important because it runs off into all of it. If you can have a positive relationship and look at food in a more positive way, then it's going to change the way that you respond when you go grab that chocolate bar. Maybe you're not going to get these feelings of guilt. It's like, hey, I get to enjoy this chocolate bar that I love, that I set aside for myself every day. I'm going to enjoy it with my partner while we watch Stranger Things or whatever it is that you're doing. That's going to have a flow-on effect. You're not going to stay up all night feeling guilty for yourself, and that's not going to affect your sleep, which is going to have a flow-on effect for your hunger and appetite hormones the next day. It's all part of the whole. And I think the way that we view nutrition is so important. Like there's all those studies, right? Like your mindset towards food, where you give two people a muffin and you tell, hey, this one has gluten in it, this one doesn't, and you get them to eat it. And neither of them in reality have gluten. And then people who are really strung up and have this idea that gluten are bad for them will physically react because they think that has gluten in it, and they've just stressed themselves out that much that they'll physically get a reaction, even though there's absolutely no gluten or anything that they'd respond to in there. So the way that we view food and the way that we look at it is so powerful and has so many runoff effects for all these other parts of our life.
Yeah, I think going on that, another part that I've found is that people have forgotten to kind of being able to listen to their body, listen to those hunger cues. Like sometimes a hunger cue could be, sometimes I ask, like, oh, I'm very hungry at the moment. I'm like, have you, had enough fluids and water throughout the day? Sometimes that can be kind of misconstrued for hunger and that thirst response. But in general, I say to people, I'm like, we've got to be able to listen to our bodies. If we are hungry, if you're feeling hungry and you're like, it's not, I've had a little bit of a 2-minute little mindfulness. It's not due to stress. It's not due to any emotions. It's not because I'm thirsty or anything like that. If it's just general hunger levels, I'm like, you have to allow yourself permission to eat. So yeah, okay, I might have had what's on my plan, but I'm really hungry. Like it's just to the point where it's uncomfortable and I eat. I'm like, well, you can eat because you've got to give yourself permission to eat when you're hungry, because we've forgotten that, throughout with the fad diets and obviously strict meal plans that people have had in the past, that we've forgotten to listen to the most like primal aspect of our bodies, which is the hunger cues. And that's what I've been kind of teaching people. Obviously, if we're, really dialing in for a competition, we've got to be wary of what we're doing in terms of those times. But yeah, give yourself permission to eat. If you are hungry and everything's going well and you're training hard and all those things, give yourself permission to do that. And that kind of removes the guilt for that extra snack or that extra bit of food. And when you take that guilt away and you take that stress of someone's mind, you see them relax, and then everything again, like we spoke about, once you relax and the stress goes, that it's fine. It's okay. Like I had someone the other day who, oh, I'm so sorry, Jack. I went out and I wasn't going to eat, but I end up eating. And I'm like, that's okay. And then like, I actually woke up lighter. I'm like, exactly. It's fine. Sometimes as long as you're following the principles, if you feel like that meal was something you really needed at that point of time, that's fine. It's okay. Give yourself permission to do these things, because then most of the time your body will thank you for it.
Yeah, I always think people, especially when they're like, oh, I ate this extra meal and it's like a few hundred extra calories. And it's like, at the end of the day, nutrition science is not an exact science. Like, unless you've got access to some incredibly sophisticated equipment and you have the capacity to put someone in there for a whole day and monitor all these things and do that quite frequently, there's just no way you can completely understand with certainty the requirements of someone. So at the end of the day, even we'll get it wrong. Maybe we undershot what we think this person needs. And the only way we know how that is like looking for these feedback mechanisms. Yes, what's going on with your weight, but we know weight can be manipulated by like fluid and fiber and every other thing. So we need to know those things. If your body is saying, hey, look, I'm really hungry, I'm undershooting, yeah, you could still be in a calorie deficit, but still feel really hungry and be under eating for your deficit. You don't need to be in a crazy deficit to lose weight. You just need to be in a deficit. You could be under by 700 calories, and by putting in 300-400 extra ones, you're still in the deficit, but at least you're hitting those cues and you're acknowledging them and you're listening to your body.
100%. And I think, and going back to the kind of permission to eat or the hunger cues and stuff like that, like obviously if we're in a very like, you know, we're kind of at the crunch time of like, say, a fight camp, for instance, and someone has having these hunger cues and stuff like that, they don't understand the hunger cues, let's say. They don't know whether it's, you know, emotional. I ask my guys, I'm like, okay, if you feel like you're needing extra food, or you're feeling these urges to eat whatever the food item is, like just spend 30 seconds to a minute and just be mindful, just have a bit of a self check-in, just a bit of mindfulness, see what the cues are. You know, am I feeling emotional? Do I really need this food? What's happening within my body and brain before I make this decision? So not saying that you can or can't do it, but just have a little self check-in. I think that's what people in such a high-paced lifestyle and environment of training, work, and going back and forth, people don't know how to slow down and be like, what is actually going on with me? And I find a lot of the times when someone has a little bit of a self check-in with that, even if it's 30 seconds, like, actually, I just need to get some more water in, or actually, I'm just feeling very stressed, and this is my unique relationship with food, going back to what we said. And every time I feel this stress, I go for the chocolate, I go for this little hit of serotonin from this food. So just like that little self check-in to me is very important. I do it myself sometimes if I'm feeling stressed, and you know, for my stress responses, I lose my appetite. So I'm like, I need to eat. I haven't eaten enough today, and I'll have that little check-in. Then my hunger will start to come back. So just that little bit of mindfulness, I think, goes a long way as well, just to understand how we're feeling on that day and how we're feeling towards food.
Yeah, it's a funny one, because I think like as a society, we like demonize food and that response. Like, it's so true. Like, food is very much like a dopamine inducing response for so many people, like when they are highly stressed. But then again, you know what else is like reaching for your phone and checking Instagram or checking Facebook. And how many people just do that mindlessly throughout the day, but we never jump up and down and go, oh, that's a terrible thing. It's because food has this negative tag with it, and going, okay, well, if you eat too much of that, you're going to put on weight, you're going to blah, blah, blah. Like you said, you could very easily just not check your phone. Like, once you get the urge to check your Instagram, you just step back, took a breath, and had a few deep, like, box breathing for a half a second or half a minute or whatever you need, probably the urge to not to check your phone will just go away. It's the same with your food. You need to recognize, when am I just reaching for this because it's just a, knee-jerk reaction that, I'm stressed out and that's it? Or, am I actually genuinely hungry? Do I genuinely need to fuel my body? And understanding that's really important. I think, we shouldn't be demonizing these reactions with food. And I think as a whole, we've just got this less is more attitude, and everyone's like, oh, don't eat that. Don't eat that. It's bad if you reach for food. It's like, no, food is fuel. Like, food is good. Like, we're so privileged in the countries in the Western world that we live in that we can even do that. Like, what? It's so interesting to me. Like, you think there's people in the world starving and they don't have the privilege of reaching for food or whatever. Like, we have that privilege, and you shouldn't be demonizing that. You shouldn't be thinking that, oh, if I have this, I'm going to get fat. No, it's there. Acknowledge it, accept it for what it is. If it's becoming to a point where it's becoming a problem, let's work on strategies, and let's work on what's happening in the rest of your diet, your stress, your sleep, everything else in your life. Maybe it is a problem, maybe it isn't. We'll address it, but stop demonizing food.
Yeah, I think like I tell a lot of my guys as well. I'm like, just be kind to yourself. I'm like, we're all human, you know, we all make mistakes, we all slip up, we all make wrong decisions sometimes. And it's just a process of understanding that your relationship with food is something that's, you know, a cause of many different factors in your life, from when were a child growing up with your parents and how they ate, or going through adolescence and how your body composition was, if you were teased, and all it's such an intricate thing that happens to us all, and we're all so unique in our, you know, in what we've been through. Like some people have been, you know, a shredded beast for their whole life and don't know what it's like for someone who puts on fat very easy. So being kind to yourself and understanding that your journey on this kind of this path is very, very unique, and kind of being kind to yourself, knowing that this process takes a long time. You will slip up. No one's expecting you to be perfect. And then making slight changes, making slight adjustments to your lifestyle or your mentality towards food will end up making the best and most healthy changes to you overall. But I think, like I said, a lot of people in today's society, it's like, I want it now. I want to be the best now. I want to be, you know, everything has to come now. But what I keep reminding people, it takes time. There's a lot of psychology behind your relationship with food, and you've got to understand what your triggers are, what you've been through, and where you want to go to be able to really implement, you know, these effective nutritional strategies, in my opinion.
Yeah, and going on that as well, I think it's important that you practice that, yes, for yourself, but for other people. And we'll do a whole podcast episode because I've been thinking about this, and it's a big reason why I wanted to actually become a dietitian. But I think not passing judgment on other people for their food choices or what they are doing. Like, you don't know what they've gone through. You don't know what type of day they had. You don't know what their history is like. You don't know what their body composition history is like. You don't know what their needs are, what their medical history. Like, you should never pass judgment on someone else for food. So I think that's really important, especially as a society, you know, like when you see someone walk in with a bag of takeout or whatever to the lunch office, and you instantly judge them, whether you want to admit it or not. Same as what you do with the person who comes in with the meal prep and they've got, you know, asparagus and chicken. You'll instantly judge them, whether it's positive or negative. We do it. And I think checking yourself, one, so yes, you're being kind to yourself, and two, that you're not doing it to other people is a really good starting point. But again, it's hard and it takes time because it's like a natural inclination to do it, because that's what our messed up little society is just ingrained in our head for so long. But I think once you start doing it and you start being kind to yourself, all these other things do start having a positive flow on effect. It's a nice thing. It's really cool to see when you have clients that can enjoy food for what it is and fuel their body. And especially if they're athletes and they go through this point where it's like, you know what? I enjoy fueling my body so I can be good at my sport, and fueling my body so I can be there for my family, and fueling my body so I can be a great partner to my boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, whatever it is. It's a really cool thing. And a lot of that starts with clearing out these misconceptions of what food is and what it's for and what it is and what it isn't.
Yeah. One of my female clients, she's pretty active in the fight scene. And like when she first came to me, it was a few months of her like, can I eat this much? You know, I don't know if I'm going to lose weight on this, and kind of that real fear about what she was eating. And then fast forward, we've been working together for like a year and a half. She like throughout the week, you know, she has pancakes before she trains. She has burgers at night. She makes pastas. She makes healthy pizzas. She has such a variety of foods, and she still loses weight, makes weight every time. Great performance and thing, great body composition. It's all going so well for her. And that's what I've spoken about. I'm like, remember that back in the day when you were eating chicken and rice and you didn't believe me you could do this? And she's like, yeah, it's completely changed the way that I view food. And that's why she goes, you know, obviously when I'm out of camp, I eat extra, but I still have these foods. I still use the principles you taught me, because I don't feel like I'm missing out, because I'm on a diet. I'm 4 weeks out. I'm having burgers. I'm having pasta with prawns. I'm having pizza. She goes, I'm so content with this stuff that doesn't really feel it. So now, and she goes, the biggest part for her is now she just concentrates on training and recovery. She trusts the process. She knows that it works. She knows that, you know, we support her. So for her now, it's just a process of being an athlete, focusing on training and recovery, you know, obviously checking with me multiple times a week to make sure that, you know, everything is going accordingly. But again, it's just that she's completely changed her mindset. She's allowed herself to enjoy different foods, allowed herself to eat, and now she's just a different athlete altogether.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot. We'll end that up there because we're going a bit over time. But yeah, I think it's really important. And then healthy relationship with food. It is, we're saying it like anyone can do it. It takes a lot of work. Like anything worth doing, it can take a lot of work, but it is something to be mindful of. And like we're saying, there's flow-on effects to all other parts of your life. It's the pink elephant. Like your health is a pink elephant of all these different components, and addressing one of them is probably going to have a positive effect on all of these other things. But yeah, Jack, you can't be more right. Like having that positive relationship is just so profound. And I hope more people really do listen to this and then sit back and go, okay, you know what? It's not a bad thing that I'm reaching for my Kit Kat. Any final remarks for you?
Yeah, I just think it's obviously, as you said, it can be a very difficult thing, and it can be a very a taxing thing on the mind. So if you do need, obviously we can support people to a certain extent, but obviously there's great psychologists out there, sports psychologists, general psychologists, who can actually help you further in their profession to really, really hone in on this, or just help you with your mental health. So I think it's very important that we kind of promote the fact that seeing mental health professionals is something that should be very accepted within the fight community and the community in general. So please reach out to those professionals if you feel like you need to.
Yeah, I think that's a good point I'll finish on as well. It's like, if you do feel like there's an issue, speak to someone. Like I have a mental coach for what started out as being for my performance when I'm training. And then it's just flown on into all these other parts of my life. And I didn't think I needed a mental coach. And you don't. And I think we just stigmatize this, right? Like if you have a problem, that's when you got to do it. And it's been one of the best things I've done for not only my athletic performance, but my business, my personal life, my personal relation. One of the best things ever is just having someone to talk to and just check in with and be like, you know what? And if you are reaching for the Kit Kat and you're constantly feeling like, go talk to someone. Go talk. It doesn't have to be a psychiatrist. You can go talk to a mental coach, sports psychologist. There's lots of dietitians who are trained in that area. They're great. Do it. It's okay to go talk to someone. And I can almost guarantee you find the right person that fits you. You'll find a lot of benefit in doing that.
100% agree.
All right, let's wrap it up there. Until next time, guys, there any other topics you want us to talk about or bring up, just shoot us a message on our socials. But that is it for another episode of the TFD Performance Podcast. And there it is, another episode of the TFD Performance Podcast. This podcast will be available through the podcast app, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and if you follow along our socials at @the_fight dietitian, you can see all of the best bits from our podcast episodes. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys for the next episode of the TFD Performance Podcast.